peace, O God of my salvation, because the mouth of the wicked and of the deceitful is open. Come with I. Rastaman throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Out of him foot dread, and the man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. You know hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat and oppress the poor. May God, what a sin thing. I have been get throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. What a plot, Bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red.
Morning Grenada, morning to the listeners of Real FM, morning to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, Pitimatic, morning world. Anytime you hear this song, you know what it is. The first reading with Master Cal aka One Stone. Morning. This program is geared to energize, is geared to be informative, is geared to let people know what's going on. It's geared to educate the nation on issues relevant as to what is taking place and charting the way forward. But with everything, I must read, and the first read this morning is Romans 13, 1 and 2. Let every soul subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God. And the authorities that exist are permitted and appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. So, the government is at the authority of God. So those who resist the authority of the government is resisting God. Anytime you hear this song, you know what time it is. You know it's the first read by Master Cal. This program is intended to bring importance, to bring clarity, and to educate the population on issues of national importance, to simplify on bread and butter issues. So the first read would be the program for bread and butter issues. So we'll deal with topical issues which affects all and sundry. We'll deal with issues of nation building. We'll deal with issues as it relates to what is happening or what is going on. And we'll let you know with information as to what is going on.
And it bring about the feeling to all wicked men. Out of him foot dread, and the man throw one stone, and it bring about the feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. You know hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat and oppress the poor. May God, what a sin thing. I have been get throw one stone, and and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. What a plot, Bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red eye. All they want to see the days when them can send out Rasta, can't send I out.
I'm standing up, Grenada, and you should stand up as I am standing up. Yesterday, during my travels on the Eastern Corridor, I met a few persons who I know, some from my past, who spoke to me, and in particular, some members of the Royal Grenada Police Force met me. And in our dialogue, they say, Master Carl, we hear you on the radio, and you're advising persons to support the New National Party. As to the RGPF, they say, well, why should we support the New National Party? And I'm here this morning, I want to address some issues as it relates to this present administration and its treatment of the Royal Grenada Police Force. In 1995, there was a pay and grade exercise done by the government of the day, where they equate jobs in the public service and attach a payment plan, the salary scale to it. However, after the pay and grade exercise was concluded, persons in other ministries asked for a regrade, which was done, but for some reason, the Royal Grenada Police Force did not ask for a regrade, so they accepted the grade and equipment of salary at the time. During those days, the RGPF didn't used to negotiate direct with government. They would accept what publics, what the unions get, and so forth. So, your humble servant, Master Carl, who at the time was the chairman of the Police Welfare Association, we approached government because we thought, okay, in 1995 you had this pay and grade exercise, and you share the pie, but as it is now, we felt that we didn't get enough. The government of the day advised us that they were having another pay and grade exercise with a firm named KPMG. However, they understood where we was coming from based on the proposal sent. And unlike many other public officers, they instituted an allowance package for the benefit of members of the RGPF. Now, I'm making that point to emphasize, because the question was asked to me why persons of the RGPF should support the New National Party and what the New National Party has done. Because you have to have a track record, you have to, let people know what you're about in terms of their well-being, as it says, for your livelihood and for your lives. And in 2006, when I was around, we approached government and said, well, the pay and grade exercise was of such, even the forestry officers at the time felt that they were not getting a proper share. But government spoke and said, well, it is improper to regrade only for one sector, the police. So we negotiated then, and the government agreed that they would give allowances to help with the salaries of the police officers. So what you'll find happening, the allowance package of the police officer far outweighs the allowance packages of public workers. So to see the government or the narrative to push that since 1995 after the pay and grade exercise was done, nothing was done for police officers, far from the truth. The truth abideth not in that statement. And I have the evidence here as to the whole background as to what led to that agreement. Because it was brought to foot that police officers were not being paid for overtime. That was taken into consideration. Police officers to spend most of their lives away from the family and loved ones. That too was taken part. Displacement allowance is when, like, okay, somebody from the mainland who is attached to the Northern Division, Carrico and Pitimatnik, they are displaced, so, you know, they have things to do, like they have to take care of two families then, here and on thing. And vice versa, persons from the Sister Isles who are attached here, those things was taken into consideration. So benefit and allowances was agreed. And the thing about it, during that happened in 2006, in 2008 to 2013, nothing has been done in terms of improvement on those allowances, and from 2013, improvements has been made. In so much as the police officers that in 2006, we decided, well, we have to negotiate for and on behalf of the police officers. And then we agreed over a 3-year period, 4%, 4%, 4%. And the police agreed then to accept the 4%. The other unions at the time held out, they say, well, nah, that other thing. But we understood within the whole framework of things. And my good friend, who is now president of the Senate at the time, Tao Bass, he met me and he said, boy, like, I'll just sell out. Only for down the road for Tao and other unions to accept the 4%. So the police took the lead there. So that to say that nothing has been done for police and they don't, and this present administration is not worrying about policies, are just a myth. The evidence doesn't bear it out. So back to the agreement. And the background of that agreement was the police force is unique in its service to Grenada. And part of stability, which enable us to rest free at night, which enable us to traverse from place to place without being harassed or without the fear of going there. Because remember, the fear of crime is worse than crime itself. So in order for the government, the NNP administration understood what it meant then, and even now, the importance of the RGPF as it relates to the stability of the states. And I will give you a real example. The Ivan came, and Commissioner Fitzroy Bido, may his soul rest in peace, Commissioner as he then was at the helm during Ivan. And there was a particular meeting with the present Prime Minister where he invited me as the chairman of the Police Welfare Association. I've given these stories so you could understand how caring this present administration is towards police officers. I'm not trying to go anything. And there's not no spin on that. That is the real thing. And the meeting was winding up in a particular way, and I stood up and that was my first encounter with the Prime Minister. I heard all kind of stories about the Prime Minister before that time. I didn't really know. That was my first encounter with this present Prime Minister. And I said to him there and then, with due respect to you, sir, I don't understand you asking for such thing, and then the police officers in the same condition, they have to leave their relatives and so on and come and perform the nation of the duty and perform a distinction. And he said then, because the other persons in the team looked at me and they thought the Prime Minister would have beat me up and say, who is this little boy out trying to bring some information? Because they're trying to establish the fact that the Prime Minister listens to situation. So he said to me, well, that is one of the best contributions I hear in the meeting for the time. And people, the Prime Minister asked for a brief moment and went on the phone. I don't know who he called or where he called then. But the assurance came after the call that you could go in a particular place and collect supplies for and on behalf of the RGPF. So, police officers, that is a particular reason that you should continue to support the present Prime Minister, because even then, in my interaction, he had your back. And after the meeting, Mr. Abilo said, boy, you know, easy, you want to play in the big league? I say, yeah, well, we have to represent the people. And if the Prime Minister, in his wisdom and understanding, listen then, I have all the reasons to believe that he'll continue to listen. So, back to the agreement. So we made a proposal to the government negotiating team at the time. And Andre, my friend, I wish you're listening this morning. You're not here with me today, but I'm holding on the foot, man. And when we received the follow-up, they met the Prime Minister and others say, well, it is very reasonable. Randy Dick, Linford Cummins, my trusted lieutenants at the time. And it was marked then tremendous benefit, but that time the greater good for the greater number was realized. And from that time, people might hear me always speaking about the greater good for the greater number. That thought was born in my mind. The greater good for the greater number. So, to address the situation as it relates to the pay and grade, to address the situation as it relates to overtime, you understand? Duty allowance was given. That means that was our allowance for duty because, you know, as he said, a police officer on duty 24/7. So, and you can't pay for overtime, but your actual duty might be 8 hours or 6 there or more if required. So, duty allowance was given. Now, he had something they call renting aid at the time was owned because of the construct of police stations at the time. It was not so constructed to house women per se overnight. But because of the situation, once you join as a WPC, you will receive renting aid. And we discussed, well, there are persons who enter the estate of matrimony who are married. We are able to so convince and get to the point where housing allowance, it was the name was just changed slightly, housing allowance, so married persons and WPCs benefited from that allowance. You see, I'm speaking on this morning especially I'm speaking to the police officers, because the question was put to me, why should they support the New National Party? And the New National Party is still relevant. But I'm taking them back as far as 2006 to now, so they could understand how caring this administration is. Even the police ban was visited. The Coast Guard, a life-saving allowance. Fire risk. Now the police storeroom is responsible for providing uniform for plainclothes officers. But you don't want you for uniform officers. But you don't want your plainclothes officers looking shabby. You want them looking dapper when they are representing the RGPF. So there was this plainclothes allowance was increased. Laundry allowances. Even in training school, we realized to be an instructor there, you have to have something about you. You have to have the it about you. And to act as, to give someone motivation allowances for that. Now, the whole mantra about person saying in terms of education and so on, nothing has been done for the RGPF. But at the time, 5 full scholarship every year was agreed on in a field consistent with policy, so you could have gone to forensic, auditing, and so forth. And this administration saw it fit to agree to those allowances. Then we have one when a woman police give birth, automatically you give them sometime they have paternity leave. But the men, sometimes your wife have a child and she need you them most time. Even paternity leave. So you see, the pattern is saying everything was considered for and on behalf of the RGPF by this administration, and in particular this Prime Minister. So the whole narrative about he's been out of reality as it relates to the RGPF is something that needs to be debunked. Well, compassionate leave was 3 days, it was increased. So it's a whole litany of allowances, disruptive allowances. Like, okay, when you disrupt from mainland to the sister island or from the sister island to mainland. And we had a particular discussion at the time. And what was there in the Constitution for police officers was a pauper's burial, maybe a few $100. And even a funeral benefit was standardized as to how you go home, your final mission. Then the rural constables who the blue stripe persons are saying, they were not catered for before that time. But during the wisdom of this particular Prime Minister, he asked the question, what about these people? So even he was a caring guy as to what the rural constables, some were made into full-fledged police officers and others reap the benefit of this allowance. We'll take a break here, friends. I'll be back.
And you will have to live and learn. And don't fret. President Mandela was in prison for 20 odd years. And he leave from the prison and take the seat of the president. Stone one, Bingy man we throw one stone, and it bring up bad feelings in Africa. Bingy man we throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling in a European land.
So folks, I'm back. Whenever I hear this song, it's me, Master Carl, aka One Stone. Because when Bingy man truly throw one stone, it will bring bad feeling to people. So I address the situation of the allowances, one, to police officers by this present administration, and I'm going to give the police officer a real life story to understand how caring this present Prime Minister is for members of the RGPF. A few officers went down with some ailment, and the medical care here wasn't what was required. So they had to travel. So one had to go to New York and a couple had to go to Trinidad to get medical care. Well, you know how expensive medical care the cost could be. So there were 3 in particular in Trinidad and Tobago where the first one, the medical cost came up to 834,000 TT. The second one came up to 743,000 TT. And the third one came up to 521,000 TT. The Welfare Association at the time took the undertaking to get those people to go to the medical thing with able help from our counterpart association in Trinidad and Tobago. And the persons received the care they needed and was on the road to recovery. But there was a small matter of $1 million plus owed in medical bills. So in Trinidad. So we start to scratch we head there, boy, because we can't go in the welfare fund here and just take the people money, because it's all about the greater good for the greater number. So I wrote to have a dialogue with the present Prime Minister because I decided, well, he is the Minister of National Security. So we had this meeting, and one thing I like about the Prime Minister with his meetings then, 7 a.m. So that means when you're fresh, nothing cluttered the mind as yet. And we had this particular discussion. And what touched me then and always stayed with me about this present Prime Minister is he listened. He didn't try to tell us off the bat, well, that's difficult to do or we can't do that and so on. He listened. We explained the whole situation. He sat there and he listened. Then he said to us, okay, he understood. And he took the phone up. At the time, I didn't know who he was speaking to. Took the phone up. But the conversation with the person on the other end was cordial based on his response to the person. And after we found out that he was speaking to Mr. Patrick Manning, may God bless his soul, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, as he then was. And he had this particular, and he gave our number to the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And in a matter of 2 days, that bill was sorted out through his initiative. So police officers, you ask for reasons why you should support the New National Party and Dr. Keith Mitchell and giving you reasons, real reasons. Not make up and could be and would be and should be. Real life reasons why he's a caring guy, why you ought to do, because the whole mantra about to whom much is given, much is required. And he has surely given much to the RGPF. So members of the RGPF are to return that gratitude by going to the polls, whenever it is, and cause the Prime Minister to return to governance. We'll take a short break here.
And it bring about the feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. You know, hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat and oppress the poor. May God, what a sin thing. I been get throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. What a plot, Bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red eye. How they want to see the days when them can send out Rasta, can't send I send out Babylon.
Yeah. Yes, friends. Yes, people. So I'm speaking to the, like I say, I am addressing an issue as relates to the RGPF. And the question posed to me yesterday. So I'm giving you this real life issues, real life thing as relates to why. Because you a couple members meet me and say, Master Carl, why? And I'm letting you know why. I'm not giving you no pipe dream or pie in the sky dream. Added to the fact, in recent memories, as of the budget, police officers and auxiliary staff ought to understand this thing. They were not only given pittance, in recognition to the service to the nation, through all what went on, being out there, odd hours, taking the risk, contact tracing, taking the risk of having these checkpoints when other persons, when we who are not frontline workers are there depending on them, and to be rewarded should not be taken lightly, because all that was offered wasn't just thanks, or wasn't the fact that, okay, that's your job to do. So many times when government does things, you hear people saying, oh, well, government's supposed to do that. But government didn't take that view as to say, oh, the members of the RGPF have to do it because they took the oath to protect and serve. They're giving back something. They give them something as a thank you, motivationally, to let them know, okay, your sacrifice has not gone unnoticed. And to continue to have this present administration at the helm would only be more beneficial to members of the RGPF and auxiliary staff alike. Now, there was a particular situation where I could speak of the wardens. And there were young men and women who were out there unemployed, and they were looking for something. Most was employed under the Imani program. Yes, the Imani program, who some tend to have a endless beating up on. And some was sent to the station where I was stationing at the time, and we caused this warden thing to begin. And I'm happy today to see many of those who came in Imanis that people beating up on. Wardens are now in full clad of the RGPF. So that is progress. So that means to say that the Imani program as relates to the RGPF, nothing is happening, is so untrue. And that is another reason why I'm saying to you, you ought to support who support you, not who gonna give you these ideas of what we might do or what we could do or what we should do. The reality of the situation is what has happened. So my thing here this morning, the first read, and it's fortunate the RGPF get the first reading, because I could speak out the RGPF because I went through the ranks. So I know when I'm speaking. I'm not speaking from an area of don't know. When I tell you things about the RGPF, I'm speaking from an informed position. I'm speaking from a position where I felt and others felt this Predators administration meant well and has stood by the RGPF. Most promotions ever under the New National Party. Most scholarship ever under the New National Party. Most training ever under the New National Party. So if all that, which is direct benefit to the RGPF have one choice and one choice only. But when the bell ring, as the Prime Minister say, is to go in the polling booth and vent. I know you're not supposed to politicize. I know you're not supposed to get into frontline politics, and I respect that, and you shouldn't. And I'm not encouraging you, even though you're singing on the same hymn sheet with me. I'm not encouraging you so to do. But your civic duty on that day is to send a clear, very clear message, crystal clear like 7-Up and Sprite in the polling booth, and give this government the mandate overwhelmingly, as you have done in the past 2 times, to continue to govern this country. All kind of issues will be raised, all kind of promises will be made to you. But one cool beer in the hand, what many in the bushes. We'll take a little break here again, my friends.
The wicked out of the sequel is open. Come with I. Rastaman throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Out of him foot dread, and the man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. You know, hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat and oppress the poor. My God, what a sin thing. Now you been get throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. What a plot, Bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red.
Yes, friends. Anytime you hear this song, you know what it is. Master Carl, the first read by Master Carl. Yes, friends, I want to enter into another area and speak to another set of persons. I want to speak to the faithful few, the faithful members of the New National Party. And in recent times, yes, you have met me. You have been telling me things, and I understand where you're coming from. But I don't want you to lose focus. I don't want you to lose sight of what is at stake. I don't want you to get swept away by the euphoria of promises. Because persons in opposition seems to always have all solutions to every problem there is until they are in a position to treat with the problems. Then you recognize that all what was said was just empty promises. I must say first and foremost that this present administration has not been perfect in everything. There's room for improvement, and we recognize that. And you giving this administration the mandate to continue will be the thing, because you have to recognize that you are the true power. You determines who hold the reins of governance. So my NNP people, I'm speaking to you here and now. You need to do what is required. What is required? First, we have to know who needs to be registered. Straight case. After you find out who needs to be registered, we need to encourage and to get those persons registered. Now, if you have issues, there are persons you could call for help. So please do it. Don't wait until such time when we have this mad rush. After persons are registered, we need to energize ourselves. We need to be abreast of what is happening. We need to know what is going on. Because you don't want to be misled by all kind of half-truth and political spin. One thing you could rely on the first read for will give you straight information, no carving in, no vertebrae. The real thing. So you need to, on Sunday mornings from 10, you need to come and get a dose of reality. You need to come, you need to tune in and get energized for the week. That is why it is the first read, the first day of the week. You need to come here and get and tap in full your cup so you could go through the week. So I'm speaking here and now to persons. So you'll hear all kind of situations, and we know. Because so much has been said, not much more could be said, so they go start back from where it was. They'll come with the corruption story, we know all about that. They'll come with whatsoever, who don't care about who. However, we have proven this new national party, that we care for the greater good, for the greater number. Now, you might ask me why. Friends, you've heard the last budget. I'll start there. Persons made a cry for the cost of electricity, and that was addressed. So that means this government is not arrogant. This government believes for the greater good, for the greater number. So we'll deal with that. All kind of issues was made about gas price, and we compare gas price here to other places, not knowing the true circumstances as to what would have been the freight cost to get it here and others. The government understood, they listened, and they brought you relief. So we know from the 18th what the price of gas would be. That's the greater good for the greater number. And that's leadership. That's governance. And all that is being done throughout the worst economic time in our history. So the government is still keeping the nation afloat with less resources, is still ensuring that persons get their salary on time, is still ensuring that works take place in the country, infrastructure works, where disposable income is being there, so everybody is getting a piece of the pie. Then the frontline workers. And we always maintain, and we always say that this government is caring. And that has been manifested in giving the frontline workers an extra month's salary to sort things out. They're on it, and the government obliged so to do. However, big business have the same, in my view, frontline workers who had braved all the elements, all the situation, risk protocols to go and solve them. And they have yet to address them by giving them something tangible. So you see the contrast here. Big businesses against this present administration, the greater good for the greater number. So it is clear. It is simple. Who cares about the people? Who care about the greater good for the greater number? We didn't stand in the doorway and try to impede the cost of electricity going on by taking matters to court. The only thing we had to do is to get back the company to ensure that incrementally, and one has to understand that because taking by the company's generators to be purchased and so forth. So there's things to be done. And in the teething process of anything, you know you don't get things right as is. But from bringing the price down, the releasing the taxes and so forth, on the non-fuel charges and so, things will get to a situation there. And only how that would happen is if you return the new national party when the time comes. Because we don't know if the pretenders to the throne, we don't know if they will give back WRB. Because you have something they call quid pro quo. Quid pro quo. You heard Donald Trump talking about it, something for something. So should WRB and the country virtual ambassador as it then was, should they be financing? What would they want in return? That's the big question. We don't know. Sometimes they want back Greenlake and then they reverse all the gains. And then on the backs of the people, because the parachute man, the pretender, or the heir apparent, as he claims, self-professed, there's no guarantee. But you know the new national party, as the man showers, you know what you have, you don't know what you will get. And in speaking to persons, I'm just bearing out the plain facts. I'm not putting no spin on things or whatsoever it is. You see, cost of living has gone up. And this present administration again listened. And come January, some measures will be put in place to cause things to be cheaper. So I hope big business don't block the process. Our big business don't want to profit out of the thing and let the thing trickle down to the ordinary man. And it is so sad, my NMP people, and I want you to be guided. There was this presentation on the budget debate and all things was explained. Even the weed men got a say. Even the marijuana men could look forward to something because the future bright. Customers could be in full supply. Because with 5 trees you could do all that. But the only thing persons with a different view is mentioning that the Prime Minister mentioned the word hungry. I mean, come on. You listen to the budget. You listen to the measures taken in the budget. And you focusing only on that. And then the question begs here. When they speak and they say, where would this money come from? And they asking, how would the government continue to do those things? That tells you clearly they don't have a clue. And if they don't have a clue now, you think giving them the reins of government would give them idea how to do it? So all that is reasons NNP folks are to understand and get ready. And being ready, you ought to be registered and ready. You cannot not be registered and ready. So my view and my advice to you, come tomorrow morning, Monday, speak to somebody, speak to your neighbor. Ask them if they're already registered. If they're not, tell them they need to get registered. If you have problems or you have little issues, call somebody. They are able and willing persons within the umbrella or under the umbrella of the New National Party who is willing and able to help. We'll take a break here now.
And oppress the poor. May God, what a sin thing. I have been get throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. What a plot, Bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. If Rasta make a progressive move, wicked men are red eye. How they want to see the days when them can send out Rasta, can't send I out, I send out Babylon. Bingy man throw one stone, and it bring about the feeling to all wicked men. What? Bingy man a throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. Things change. The table is turned. And you will have to live and learn. And don't fret. President Mandela was in prison for 20 odd years. And he leave from the prison.
Yes, friends, I'm back. So the whole context in which the Prime Minister spoke about hungry ought to be taken in its whole context, not just the short second where he spoke about hungry. And I'm calling on Mr. Dickon Mitchell. The legal fees you collected from WRB matter with government. You should tell the people of Green that you intend to give it back. Because yes, there are hungry people here. And what is instructive to note, all these are due about the Prime Minister mentioned hungry. Janie Rapier on NDC had bit some time ago. Spoke in likeness of people in Green in fig skin and thing. And I didn't hear the song and dance. And holler about and she say, yes, There are hungry people in Grenada. Yes, they eating fig skin in a derogatory way. And no halabalo song and dance was made. So NNP people, you see what is at play here? The Prime Minister said he would never have money and don't spend it on the hungry Grenadians. Somebody say they are hungry and eating fig skin with no solutions to help the fig skin people as she put it in. And not a song was sung, not a drum was beat. So you see what is at play here? We take on the narrative for the hatred of one man. The hatred of one man. So he said, in proper context, he would never stand idly by and watch his fellow men die. He would never stand idly by and not do nothing for the hungry people in Grenada. And you only hear all that in a whole presentation, all that in a budget, and you hang on to that. But when Janie Rapier was on NDC Heartbeat, and she said, you have a lot of hungry people here eating fig skin. But I didn't hear you people. So if you are to protest, I believe you should protest. But stop making double standards. Stop put it in a particular way like you take inside. If something is wrong, it's dead wrong. However, it shouldn't be wrong based on who say it. And the reality of the situation and the crux of the matter is when hungry was mentioned, it was mentioned just to say that he would not stand idly by and allow it to continue. He will do something. And as the measures outlined in the budget clearly states, or should show us, or should show you, that something is being contemplated, and not only contemplated, something is being done to address. It might not be done 100% because it's a work in progress. It might not be done 100%, it's an unfinished project. But for the project to continue and complete, you have to return the NNP into governance. It's a straight case. It's not a case where people tend to just opposing for everything and opposing. And friends, you have to understand the nature of the beast what we're dealing with, you know. When the referendum came around twice, there was this part in the referendum where we have term limits for leaders of this country. Again, the hatred of one man. They say no. Because they say, oh, we don't want to add to this guy's legacy. He already has his legacy, you know. Because the poor and vulnerable people in this country understand what he is all about, you know. The people who benefit directly and indirectly from it understand what his legacy is. In the field of education, he has his legacy. Unprecedented scholarships, unprecedented works on schools and so forth, and the whole thing about regularizing teachers. More has been done under this present administration. In terms of health, we know the new hospital. We know the improvement. It is not where we are. It's a work in progress. It is not where we want it to be, but it's a work in progress. That is something legacy. And yes, we talk about infrastructure because we know infrastructure is so important in driving the economy. Even when you have stimulus packages in the United States, I think it starts off with infrastructure. And the massive amount of infrastructural work that has been done under this administration. And what infrastructural work does, it ensures that you, me, and everybody, there's disposable income going around. So everybody gets part of the pie. It's not a case where big business collects and rests it in the coal. The greater good for the greater number. So the legacy of him there. But they say no. Let we vote no. Even if it means a forward for the country. Even if it means our own agenda might be realized to limit terms. But they say no, you know. And lo and behold now, they come in with this shenanigans about it did too long. It did too long. But ask yourself the question, why did they vote no? When they could have directly impact how long one should stay. And it goes back to the hatred of one man and one man only. And to say that nothing has been done under the New National Party, you know who's saying that is nonsense. You know who's saying that just tend to jackass the thing. It's one thing to have money at your disposal to buy anything and to buy ass, and to be biased. But it's another thing to govern a country where persons are depending a lot on the initiatives of government, Not only the initiative financially, but for stability. And we know that group, stability is not a word what abide among them. Too much a mash up and break up and confusion. You can't have people at the helm in confusion. Unity is strength. Confusion is mash up. And the strong suit is mash up. Fight against one another. Curse one another. Leak information on one another. So how could you trust? And a government is something you have to trust. How could you trust a group of people? One has not even learned to play the game first. One has not even learned the ruminants of the reins of power. You represent only a few big clans who you continually and continuously fight against the general populace by the matters you bring to court. And all of a sudden you turn now and try to say you is the best thing since sliced bread. We'll take a break now.
The president, stone one, Bingy man we throw one stone, and it bring up bad feelings in Africa. Bingy man we throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling in a European land. You have eyes to see, let him see. You have ears to hear, let him hear what the prophet of the land say.
Yes, friends. So when you are accustomed representing big business like the breweries, and we know the situation what happened with the breweries and the workers. When you are accustomed representing big business like ASGO, and yes, we know all about vaccine and unvaccinated. We know all about keeping people out who are unvaccinated, and you are the ones spearheading the legal advice on these matters against the Grenadian people. So, the payer of the piper calls the tune. So how now you could come and try to convince us as a people that you're on board with us when all the monies you've gained to buy ass and to buy assness derives from these people lost source. And those things are well documented as to how these companies treat with the ordinary Grenadians. And you, yes you, spearheaded legal advice. You didn't say, yeah, it's my people, and don't be so draconian, don't be so harsh towards them. You didn't say, yes, I understand the plight, and let me see how you could meet halfway, let me see how you could arrange something. It was the letter of the law then. And within a matter of months, you now come in and tell me, oh, you're able and ready to represent the general population, the ordinary man who have been fighting for your whole career. Come on. You cannot and will not, and we would not allow and cannot at NNP, folks, we cannot allow that to go happen under our watch. They have to think it over and think it again. We're not saying government for life. We're not saying it's only NNP should govern, but you have to show us that you're capable and you're able to take the reins of governance. It's not a case where it's like you're going back, take a chance and you play a number, and if you win, you win. If you don't win, you win. No. You have to have people you trust. You have to have people know out. And you have to have a united bunch of people to take him.
I want to reply to Kodalin's call when he said guy is Tony and should pass the ball. Kodalin fresh and fast and out of place twice. Who the hell is Kodalin to give advice? Whether it's soccer, rounders or basketball, I am very upset with Kodalin's call. So since Kodalin want to play advice in way, my intention is to give some advice to prevent your shots from going over bar. You have to have enough respect for Lord Kitchener. You have to dress decently, learn to have self-pride. It's far over you a pass, you go put it wide. On 2 occasions, you had great chances to score. You miss kicks so where you're asking for the pass for. As your senior, I would like to agree with you. When you say pass the ball, but pass it to who? Lord Kitchener.
So I want to advise Mr. Deacon Mitchell as his senior. I want to advise him he has to learn to play the game first. You can't just come in the thing and just feel you coming from top down. You have to plan the grips to pick it. You have to plan the can to read the band. You cannot just come and all of a sudden like you have all solutions. And most of the solutions you're giving, you speaking from a platform or don't know. So my simple advice to you, Mr. Mitchell, learn to play the game first. If you get a little blind, or if you buy the thing, or if you spend money for the thing, yes, it's a matter entirely for you. However, for you to get what you're looking for him to pass the ball, you're not ready to collect the ball yet. And we don't play no rugby in this country. We don't pass the ball backward and sideways. When we run in the football, we're running it right through when the quarterback give you it. You have to do it. So the whole mantra about who they long. And if you realize NMP people, all what they're saying about who long and should go, they're not giving you the indication that things is not right. You know? And when they start contrasting and comparing with other countries within the region, they never tell you that the pandemic hit all the countries. All the countries had to send people home. All the countries had to cut back on things. No country gave any salary increase during those times. That is what they're not telling you. And on the first read, we'll give you the information. We'll let you know. During the pandemic, 4%. Still, everybody receive the salary on time. No problem out. No excuse was made. Nobody lose their work. Even persons who we understood couldn't even go to the building of work. That's the imperative issues we have to talk about. That's what we have to deal with. You understand? So it's not a case. So when we start comparing and contrasting, you make one little thing about gas and you jump around and you call in all other country name what gas price is. Call other country name what receive one extra month pay for the frontline workers. That's the contrast you have to do. Call other countries what receive a salary increase during the pandemic. Call other countries that the handling of the situation health-wise. And if you then was what you saw, you'd have come on the airways as you're doing now quite eloquently and advise people to follow the protocols and advise them to do what is necessary and get vaccinated so as to cause this country to return to a sense of normalcy in a quicker time. But I don't know where he was. Where were you when this country was going through blood, sweat, and tears? Where were you? When the numbers was rising, where were you out there? And even when one among you, Mr. Robinson, stretch out himself, or they beat him up. So what are you saying now? Let people dead. The same people now you come in and talk about you wanted. The same people now you talking about you want support you and telling me it's time for Dr. Mitchell to go, you know. When they needed you, where were you? Like cat did eat your tongue? All of a sudden, what happened? You had a speech impediment, then you couldn't come and advise people? Because you must have known that you wanted to enter the free. Like you don't wake up a morning, or maybe as you wake up and you just buy the thing. I don't know if it. And even though you just wake up and buy the thing, you don't ready yet. You don't ready for him to pass the ball to you yet, Mr. Mitchell. Prepare yourself so when you get the ball, you go perform with distinction. So when the pandemic came and the Minister of Health came on and said COVID will have its day. And if we don't do what we should do, what will happen? You are mute. You didn't come and say, yes, the minister is right. You allow people to perform job must play. The man who say he go advise you along was seen paying the job illegally. So you don't have much to offer, you know. Because the man who was on radio and TV when they ask him about you, he say he go guide you along, you know. So if he encouraging lawbreakers and paying them money and it's well documented so he can't do that, his antecedents, and he say he go advise you. Well, that means the advice you get don't speaking for much. Because if that man go advise you and encouraging, and so sad he is the bastion of good governance and law, and then he going and pay the job illegally, and he say he go advise you, and all due the time when Grenada was going through blood, sweat, and tears, you were nowhere to be found. You didn't even make an appearance, even on because everybody doing like a live. You could have done like a live and tell the people, well, stick to protocol that here. And up to now, in your own utterances, you still not telling people as it relates to the protocol what your advice to them is, you know. We don't know. We need to know. But you're asking for the ball. What position you playing? We don't know if he's a defender, if he's a goalkeeper. All we know is a blocker of progress. Because you represent WRB and you block the process for the electricity cost to go wrong. We know that is one of your claim to fame. Because you represent them. You didn't study any people then and tell WRB, yeah, by that my people and the thing hard on them. So let me see we could think. No, you didn't study in that. But all of a sudden you know who had to go. And you know who they too long. But you just come, Johnny come lately. Who come Carter? You have to learn to play the thing. And only here we telling thing about who old and who the old. The leader of the free world, you know how you think. They didn't tell him that. And your own people was touting for him in their post. Your New York chapter people, and when you read the post, they supporting the man are leading the free world. And they know what the age is. And how come now age become an issue? So age good for them up there and it good here? And a man have a track record here of doing good. As my friend Harold St. Louis, may his soul rest in peace, is coming up with the goods. And the coming up with the goods is felt. So you're saying now how election near. So they're doing work. Well, you should be proud. Something is being done. So I expect nothing being done. So they remove one of your strong suits about gas. They remove electricity. So you have some areas where you can speak on because it is being addressed. Cost of living is being addressed. Electricity cost is being addressed. The frontline workers. So what I want you to do, what I'm advising you to do, It seems like big business listens to you because they give you the work to do. Tell them the frontline workers they have, reward them before the year. And when you tell them that and they get reward, you could come and beat your chest and say, well, I speak to big business and they do something. Be their conduit for the frontline workers in your good friends establishment, big business. You don't have to make an appointment to see them. You could just call them on the phone. Tell them the government play part and reward the frontline workers. So tell them those they have, reward them because it's greater good for the greater number. I wouldn't think, as a matter of fact, I'll come here and publicly congratulate you if you do that. Because once it's the greater good for the greater number, that's I'm with. That's I'm with. So tell big business. So you have some things you have to do before. And that is one of them. And I'll continue to tell you on the first read the things I think you ought to do to qualify you to make those pronouncements. So first of all, I want you to go to big business. They are your friends. I know that. And tell them. You could even though you don't want to use your own words, say, buy them men and them the government, give them men the other frontline workers something. So the frontline workers with you, give them something. They might not give them a whole month like government has done. However, you ought to start to looking out for those people too. You don't want to look out for nobody now and you want the whole check. Why to do it? Well, show us you care. Show us what your metal made of. Don't come and give us no flowery language and talk and nice talk and come across as being very arrogant. The people listening to you and they watching you. Temper yourself. You don't know all. Put yourself in a position where you're willing to learn. And tell your friends at big business that the frontline workers, you could even say calculate and say that. No problem with that. That the government has given to the frontline workers under its authority. So you big business, look out for your frontline workers too. Because they brave the same situation and conditions. And they cause big business to run and even make a profit in these times. Secondly, you want to be Prime Minister, you ought to let us know that whole issue about vaccine and things. Because you, for big business, you was the bastion. Anybody who will take it can't come any place. You was the gatekeeper. So why now the whole nation you want to represent, you don't speak into them about it? Come on. Let us know. Speak. Open your mouth and speak on the issues relevant to people, the issues that really affect people. And not fly by night theories and asking where they go get the money. And how and if they could continue doing that. Because you don't understand. All the measures taken from 2013 is bearing fruits. An organization outside Grenada, contrary to what you and a lot of you saying, believe in this present administration and is giving them. So when you say now this government are doing nothing, how are they able to tap into these resources? You have to learn to play the game because you don't know. You can't play the game. So learn the thing. Because the measures put it in 13. Persons in other jurisdiction came here. They came here. It was not fashionable for them to swallow the pride. They came here and learning. They can't find out what this administration was doing. And now you see the fruits of the labor. You asking where they go get the money and things from. Because they know. They didn't play in domino. They didn't play in domino. They was playing domino. So now they're able to tap into the resources and things. And to you find is a magic one. No hard work. Hard work. You don't work yet. You want to start from the top. You don't work yet. You don't know. You're not even a probationer yet. I don't have nothing against you personally. If that is your vision, and if it's one But we want, if you have to be in that position, you're well prepared. Because we don't want excuses. My friend, you cannot ask for adjournment when issues need to be addressed nationally. When COVID issue had to be addressed, well, adjournment measures are to be taken. Some painful, but for the greater good, for the greater number. But you don't have a track record of performing for the greater good, for the greater number. You only perform for an elite few. So how now? You go transition from representing just the elite few to the many. That is my concern. And that is my concern, and I'm a Grenadian. And you want to enter into the prime ministerial compound. So I ought to ask those questions of you. If you be offended by it, well, I meant to. However, I ought to know. So first of all, you have to tell big business to reward the frontline workers they have. That's your friends. Secondly, you have to let the general populace know how you plan to treat with the whole issue of the pandemic. We want to know. We don't want to know if you go. We don't want to know if you might rock, beat the thing and start to pass the ball sideways and backward. That's how you have to know that. Thirdly, we have to know your track record as to love for people, because we know Dr. Keith Mitchell has massive love for people. As a Jamaican friend of mine tell me, well, Dr. Keith Mitchell is the poor people governor. I don't know what make him say that. He also say he relate Dr. Mitchell to Pink Panther, and we know all about the movie. That's his view, only saying what he said. But if somebody from Jamaica out of the region could say that your prime minister is like the poor people governor, you have to have something attached to you. So what else say? You is the big business done? No. Mr. Mitchell, you have to come better than that. You have to come, we have to know you. And even Christ, when he chose men, he didn't choose men from the big business and elite fews, the scribe and Pharisees. He go all by the river, all by the sea, and pick up Peter and them. Men are collecting tax all about and thing. The ordinary man, even when the word was God, and he was with him, and the word became flesh and dwell among men. When he chose his disciples, he didn't want to pick up the elite and big business and the privilegiancias. He went to the ordinary man. So what you can promise the ordinary man now? Boy, I don't know, they men are not doing nothing for you. And you're going and tell a man how he in the prime minister constituency and the prime minister don't do nothing for him. So if you know he has a business you feel is a good one, and he in the prime minister constituency and the prime minister don't do nothing for him, do it for him. Let that be your first thing. So you go beat your chest and say, that man was in the prime minister constituency. He have this thing where it has potential to do foods and to preserve foods. Don't tell him when you come. Do it now. You have what it takes financially. Do it for him. And then they will start to beat your chest and say, I go in the prime minister constituency and he have a man he didn't help him, and I help him. Get some credence. Get some street cred. You don't have street cred right now. Get some street cred. And I'm giving you the advice that I'm free. I feel it's so nice to give you those advice. Because I want the best for you, but you're not ready to get the ball. My whole thing about it, when your time come, you're like, if you understand, when I read in Romans, is the ancient of days what appoint the government. Who you don't want will never be there. So if he want you, and he so desire you'll be there, I just want you to be ready. I don't want when you come here to make excuse and say boy thing, and then one thumb thing in you and all that kind of thing, and when you have people bawling and thing. No. So you need to get the street cred. And don't tell him, man, when you come, you go make your business a priority. Do it now. Help him now. $200,000 though out past you. You're capable of giving him $200,000 to do it. So if you could tell him, oh, by the prime minister constituency and he don't helping you, help him. When your brother asks you for bread, don't offer him stone. Give him bread. So it's good you go to him. You know all the influence he have. You know who he could talk to. You know all that. You study him before you go for him. But you tell him, oh, if I come, I'll give you. So if you never come, you don't get nothing. And tell me the Prime Minister constituency. And the Prime Minister don't do nothing. Do it for him. Create some legacy. Create some street cred. Let people know you're a man helping. Only big business you're interested in. So because he's not big business, you're promising him. And trying to think, no, not so the thing does work. My grandmother said, believe in what you see. I don't know, she was a wise woman. She said, believe in what you see. So I just bring in those things so my people, NNP, you understand what it at play. We have to get ready. Complacency is not allowed. We see what the complacency in 2003. Then we still didn't take notice. In 2008, July 8th, July 9th, I see men crying already. July 15th, men saying, who wins saying they don't take part in politics already. Then we know pay was on the 41st. We don't want to visit those days again. We don't want to rock be the nation again. So I speaking real. Me don't go and give you no philosophy or bringing it right there. So NNP people have a duty. And the silent majority are speaking to you too. You understand what is at play? Because right now, social media is a thing. All kind of thing on social media by they getting on. So they have 364 days and a quarter to do the thing. But the day we go get to do it when the bell ring, we have to send a clear and overwhelming message to them. Watch. This thing all are doing, you don't walk in. You can't walk. Because this present administration, though it has its shortcomings, for most part have concentrated on the greater good for the greater number. And to whom much is given, much is required. And this present administration has given much. So I spoke of the police officers. I spoke of the persons who gave human service during the pandemic, the frontline workers. I'm speaking now to the youth. Because all of a sudden, in 2008, that meeting held in the Trade Center brought sour news for the youths of the nation. When they tell a lot of them they have to stay home with nothing. Then 4 years, 7 months and 19 days, nothing. 47-19, nothing happened for them. The same youth they're trying to talk about now. Then 2013 came, and then youth came back alive. I cannot count how much scholarships given to youth. I cannot count how much programs have been developed for the youths of this country. So the New National Party never forget youth. The New National Party never treat the youth as an event. But we recognize it's an ongoing process, it's a work in progress. Yes, it is not perfect, but we get in there. And all of a sudden now you remember, the youthful population. And then you and your surrogates, all you on social media, beating up on the youths on them. You and your surrogate examples all you're giving is to break the law. Because you and your surrogates, with those you cannot control, and those you're not disassociating yourself from, birds of a feather flock together. Those that you in bed with has shown so much disrespect to the elder statesman and generally to the older persons, the elders in society. They have no respect for them because you surrogates preaching that. You surrogates preaching break the law. When the pandemic come and there were information that we shouldn't mass gather and so on, your surrogates, those you cannot control, see, mass must play. I didn't hear you. Where were you? You was in a coma or something. So you just wake up. So you and the surrogate encouraging people to break law of the land. And then so when you take the oath, how you go take the oath with a straight face when you know you and your surrogates encouraging law breaking? So that is something you have to work on again. So you have a few issues to deal with. Why does the new National Party continue to provide programs? Continue to provide a way for the youth. And we know many youth could testify that true. Yes, the Imani program. They have degrees, they graduate, they have their own business, they have good jobs. So it is possible. The avenue is created. Is one to take it and run with it. But you don't see it. You only try to negatize it. Even 2 years ago, your party were looking for leadership when the Honorable Nazim Bok, as he then was, decided to move on. You have like a Joseph Andal. He was the caretaker then. You say, nah, you don't want Andal because since he become the caretaker, Vincent Roberts said they're looking for somebody who could be Prime Minister. So if he is the caretaker and they're looking for somebody then to be the Prime Minister, that means not him, he can be Prime Minister. Then you bring in the lady, you say, well, she's the thing, first woman Prime Minister and agreeing with that. But all the time, conveniently, you didn't remember any youths. But then now, a guy appear, like Mel Chelsea there, and he had the ability to buy ass and to be biased. Then you turn around and say the youth. But the youth is not a people who could play games with. You have to be there. You can't just come like fly by night, far-fetched. You have to come solid. Because if you want to inherit governance, you have to have some substance about you. It's not going and read some piece of legislation and explain and say that has so happened so and shall be in must. You know that it. You have to find ways and means of treating with a multiplicity of issues as relates to the nation. And not just you go and sit down and say your lordship that and our seek a adjournment. You cannot adjourn the economy and the progress of the nation. It's real time. Real time. There are certain things you must take care of. And there are those among us who, irrespective of the stage the economy is, we have to look out for them, the poor and vulnerable. And every initiative taken by this administration for them, you're beating up on it. You're saying it's freeness. You're saying it's waste. So the same set of people, and why you tell them when you come, you don't gain freeness? You say you're taking all the bushing and send people on farm. So Christmas, Carnival and Easter, what will happen to them people? At least. You say you're taking it out, that's your words, not mine. You say you're taking them out and send them on farm. Because somebody might tell you that. But when people are not telling you that, ask them the practicality of what you're saying. Don't just come and say things and we know it is not practical. Tell us something that is believable and something we could conceptualize. They just come and word up more, jump out thing. The thing doesn't work so. Because the person you're coming up against is tried and tested. The best there was, the best there is, and the best there will be here. And you have to do that, so you have to better up than that. And you're so confident. Word on the street is that you don't drop anchor. You had gone drop anchor in Northwest. If you're so confident, go in Northwest. If you're so confident that you go take the thing, you have no fear. Don't look for no other place. Go in Northwest. If you're so brash and arrogant and bold, go in Northwest. You don't have to look for place and such. St. Andrews, Southwest and St. David's and South and Northeast. Go Northwest because if you're bad. So go and do it. But there's a lot of things you have to brush up on. And maybe when you brush up on them, you will say, okay, well, The guy could handle the ball. Well, now, you might be in front goal and you don't score by. You can't afford in this time not to score. Can't afford that. So yes, as you saying, or election budget, and you know election is something what has happened. Election is something what has happened here. And you know the leader of the country has the prerogative to call it when he so chooses. We'll take a break, friend.
Hold not thy peace, O God of my salvation, because the mouth of the wicked and of the deceitful is open. Come with I. Rastaman throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Out of him foot dread, and the man throw one stone, and it bring a bad feeling to all wicked men. Only when man like Marcus Garvey speak, wicked men would I hear. Instead of that, they only sit aside and rob and cheat and oppress the poor. May God, what a sin thing. And you been get throw one stone, and it bring about the feelings to all wicked men. What a plot, Bingy man throw one stone.
He said he don't really want the AstraZeneca. He said what he really want is the Moderna or the Pfizer. But if he can't get that, he go wait on the one from Cuba. Plus his friend in the country making a special one from Bush, and they calling it the push in the bush. I say, boy, don't be stupid. The best vaccine is the one you can get right now. Because while you waiting on vaccine, COVID not waiting on you, you know. So take what you could get today, because tomorrow is another story. Plus vaccine is not just about you. It's about you protecting your co-workers, your friends, your family, your community. You don't want to bring nothing by them, and they shouldn't want to bring nothing by you. So make sure they get the vaccine too. I mean to say, you wash your hand, you wear your mask, you keep your distance. So why is a little vaccine? A jab here and a jab there and you're done. It's just a different kind of jab. So boy, take in front before in front take you. Get your vaccine now.
All across our nation, we've taken steps together to slow the spread of coronavirus. Now we must continue to take personal responsibility to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Because even though not all of us risk a severe case of the virus, we all risk getting the virus and spreading it to others, maybe without realizing we're sick. If we want to maintain the progress we have made thus far, we should follow the guidelines from the health professionals, take extra precautions if we are at higher risk, wash our hands frequently, stay 6 feet from others when we can, and wear face coverings in public, and get vaccinated. These small actions will make a big difference. Say it with me, Grenada. Coronavirus stops with me. Remember, the Ministry of Health is your own, and wear face coverings in public, and get vaccinated. These small actions will make a big difference. Say it with me, Grenada. Coronavirus stops with me. Remember, the Ministry of Health is your only source for credible and factual information. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health Grenada and the Pan American Health Organization.
Anytime you bounce up a racist and you hear them running them out, it have a whole set of people don't care what they're talking about. A racist is someone living happy and all their family doing well. So race talk is really not for people in the ghetto catching hell. Now tell them racists, sufferers don't care about color. Sufferers don't care about race.
A racist is a person who living comfortably, them and the family doing well. But sufferers don't care about country. Sufferers don't care about race. All they want to hear where the next meal coming from. So when the Honorable Prime Minister in his deliberation mentioned the word hungry, he understood what the suffering people, as Janie Rapier and put them before. They don't care. All the concern is where something coming from, and he's ensuring by the measures brought that these people are taken care of. So when they come talking, they're doing well, they're happy, they could buy us because they have money. But they don't know what it means when a man has to think where his next meal coming from. If you ask them about that, they go tell you, nah, bye. They don't know about that. And to lead this country, that are the things you ought to know. You must know. You can't come and think and you don't know about that on them. You never know where your next meal coming from. You never know that. You understand? And when you comfortable in your thing, you don't understanding when a man tell you this thing, when a man come to you as how they go to the present Prime Minister for assistance. And the thing about it, so many people goes to assistance and there's the school of thought. The day a man stop come and complain to you in your leadership position, two things. Either A, he tell himself that man cannot help me, so I don't wasting time and go there. Or B, he tell himself that man don't care about me, so he don't make any sense. And people continue to dialogue. And this whole thing about you speaking and in your initial presentation, you were so arrogant, brash, and bold-faced to say the president only bishop and give you a do thing for Grenada. Nothing else happened then. How you could speak with such arrogance, utter contempt? The people listening already, they realize that man not making sense. And then, after you done say that, you go and say, is a concrete government only road and thing they building. So in one side of your mouth, you say nothing has been done. And then you're contradicting your own self by saying only concrete and road they building. So that means we don't know where you're there, you flip-flopping, you're like iguana, you're changing color. So big business, I don't know how you will treat with them because you're trying to tell this small man you will work for him. So your big business pull your life support plug. How you handling? And that the issues we know. How you disassociate yourself, how you able to treat with big business on one hand and the small man you've been fighting every step of the way. You fight him in SGU, you fight him in the breweries. But how you fight him when the government on his behalf? And listen to the thing, the people give the government the overwhelming mandate twice to work for and on their behalf. So with that mandate, the government come to the company represent. And then 3 times. And then the government came to you on behalf of the people. And you was the one legally advising the company not to hear them men and them. So you was against the people for Grand Lake, you was against the people for SGU. So how now? I don't know. Maybe I don't want somebody need to explain to me. Where you had this travels, where were you going? Like were you on the road to Damascus and some light shining you and then you recognize, okay, I must help the people? Or are you telling us you played full already so it matters not? So you could take a chance now and help the people? But anyhow you caught it, you have some explaining to do. Because we would want to know, if we take a chance and give you, how you will treat it? Who is the piper that is being paid? Who paying the piper? So we go know how you go treat with us. You can't come in the middle of the ocean, can't give you the Westland in the middle of the ocean. You tell us, I really couldn't handle the thing. And some men go out to shout and thing. So there's a lot of things you need to steady up. You don't just go and make this pronouncement and then saying things what people hearing you about nothing happening in Grenada. And then you and your surrogates turn around and say, only road they building, only that they're doing. You have to steady yourself. And another issue I want to address. With your arrogance, saying how the National Stadium is a white elephant. You see, that's how you feel about people. Your utterance that the National Stadium, the Kirani James, please, you don't even have respect for Kirani. So why are you trying to tell Kirani, please, this is a white elephant? You don't even understand anything. That I tell you, you don't know how to play the game. Okay, if you could go in your thing and speak in boldly and say, oh, the National Stadium is a white elephant. By cock mouth kill cock. Cock mouth kill cock. Because the things I was saying, nobody doesn't tell you nothing. Like, who advise you? Nobody don't telling you, listen yourself. You're speaking on some issues where you're vexing people, but they don't understand why you're doing that. Because your surrogate's been doing that from since 2008. And the result has been a particular way, so you just continue. Because right now, you can't disassociate yourself from them. Because they promote you, they're promoting you. So you cannot disassociate, so you start to speak like them already. So the government don't do nothing, die like them. But of a feather speak together. The National Stadium is a white elephant, die like them. So you showing us your true colors. I mean, maybe you don't mean to. But somebody listening to you recognize you and your surrogates are speaking the truth. Save and except you're trying to put it in flowery, nice language, in an eloquent way. But we will cut you all the bull on this program here. We will cut you all the bull on the first read. We'll listen to you and explain to the people just what you are saying. And don't get sidetracked. Don't get sideways. Because there are certain things you ought to do which you're not doing. And I'm giving you the free advice. You know what you have to do to think the Grenadian public. So yes, I was speaking to the silent majority. And your surrogates claiming that you have the silent majority already, but you're not doing justice. But silent majority, you hear all the people speaking. They have no respect for nobody. White elephant, nothing been done in the country. People too old there to go. All that is disrespect. And even the good book say, respect the elders. The Ancient of Days advise us, and every scripture is given for learning. So if you give a scripture a learning and he say, respect the elders, who are you and your surrogates to determine they don't deserve respect? And you're not saying nothing. You're behaving like Eli. So let me advise you, if you don't know, Eli's sons was doing stupidness, like how your surrogates doing. And Eli sat there and said nothing. The upholder and the doer, you need to steady yourself. You can't come in and speak in one way, and your surrogates doing nonsense in the other way. Like I tell you, a racist is a man who doing well and living comfortably in his family. But so far as all they want to hear is where the next meal coming from, and this budget, they heard where the price of gas going down, they heard electricity going down. The frontline workers here, they're getting an extra month pay. The general consumers realize from January things will go down on Ireland, Turkey and thing. The same Turkey and thing they're talking about. But they don't say what the price is when they compare and contrast. They don't say any price in St. Lucia and for Turkey. Only one thing they know in a place is what the price for gas. They compare only the price for gas. They don't compare the fact that 4% in a pandemic, the government give 4% increase in salary. They're not telling people in a pandemic the government paying on time. Nobody lose their work. That's what you have to contrast. They're not telling people, okay, the front line workers get a whole month pay. Die the contrast you have to make. So give people the full picture. Don't cut out a little piece like how you're just taking a little snippet out hungry in a whole presentation. If you're fair and you're so confident of what you're saying, let it go. But don't try to fool people and do it double standard. Let's take a break here, friends.
You really want the AstraZeneca. He said what he really want is the Moderna or the Pfizer. But if he can't get that, he go wait on the one from Cuba. Plus his friend in the country making a special one from Bush and they calling it the push in the bush. I say, boy, don't be stupid. The best vaccine is the one you can get right now. Because while you waiting on vaccine, COVID not waiting on you, you know. So take what you could get today because tomorrow is another story. Plus vaccine is not just about you. It's about you protecting your co-workers, your friends, your family, your community. You don't want to bring nothing by them and they shouldn't want to bring nothing by you. So make sure they get the vaccine too. I mean to say you wash your hand, you wear your mask, you keep your distance. So what's a little vaccine? A jab here and a jab there and you're done. It's just a different kind of jab. So boy, take in front before in front take you. Get your vaccine now.
All across our nation, we've taken steps together to slow the spread of coronavirus. Now we must continue to take personal responsibility to protect ourselves and our loved ones. Because even though not all of us risk a severe case of the virus, we all risk getting the virus and spreading it to others, maybe without realizing we're sick. If we want to maintain the progress we have made thus far, we should follow the guidelines from the health professionals, take extra precautions if we are at higher risk, wash our hands frequently, stay 6 feet from others when we can, and wear face coverings in public, and get vaccinated. These small actions will make a big difference. Say it with me, Grenada. Coronavirus stops with me. Remember, the Ministry of Health is your only source for credible and factual information. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health Grenada and the Pan American Health Organization.
I sit down to write this but only to please them. But as I take up my pen and my piece of paper and I write out the first verse, listen what I remember. Oil money come, oil money go. Poor people remain on the pavement and ghetto. And when this guy divide and start, don't divide the bread equally. Yes, I'm going and finish the whole damn Calypso about Dorothy. Our jam shake.
Yes, folks, I'm back. And as the song say, NNP massive. The time go come when we go jam Dorothy. But before we jam Dorothy, we have some work to do. We have to get our people registered. We have to make sure that the machinery is well oiled and ready. And even before we jam Dorothy, I want you to remember 4 years, 7 months, and 19 days. They make the Emmanuel go home. They promise the poor people or the people who receive the government assistance and increase. But this government didn't make this bold pronouncement. But yes, the 150 added on to the seed program. So this government is not a government attack. We just do it. So the persons will be getting 150 added to what they're getting. And you are telling me about nothing is been done since Bishop. Come on. Where are you? But maybe you don't know. Without fairness to you, maybe you don't know because where you were sitting on your lofty heights, high and mighty, with big business and your big clients, you couldn't care less about what happened below there with the small man. You didn't know. So maybe when you say that you genuinely don't know, But if you don't know at this stage, when you gonna know? If you know the thing might know, you'll never know. And come and ask us to entrust you with the thing. No, in this dispensation, you have to prove your water and your metal. You have to prove you could play the game. So NNP massive. The time will come when all of us go jam Dorothy and we do Dorothy that and we do Dorothy that. But before we do all that to Dorothy, we have some work to do. We have some work to do. You need to call somebody and tell somebody to tell somebody, are you registered? If not, tell that person you need to get registered. Because we know what we're coming up against. And we cannot allow no slip-ups. Because 2003 and 2008, we learned a bitter lesson. And we don't want to go back down that road. We don't want to rugby the thing to pass the ball backward. Forward we going. When Dr. Keith Mitchell, the quarterback, released the ball, the wide receivers them have to move in the end zone. We heading for the end zone. We go take this one all the way. And this one is one we must take all the way emphatically to let Dr. Keith Mitchell know for all that he's done for us. We're grateful. We're happy. And we want to send him into the sunset, into the winter of his career. In a way befitting for a man who has given us all these things. I just want to quote something here from Barack Obama. When our government system is spoken of as menacing, threatening a foreign entity, it ignores the fact that our democratic government is us. Barack Obama, unquote. So when you hear they running down this government and say, oh, they don't do nothing, the government is us. So they don't attacking Keith Mitchell. We they telling that. When they're saying for 13 years nothing don't happen, they telling us, are they don't making sense? And we ought to respond to them. But it don't make sense we're going to beat them up on radio. Let me beat them up on radio. But the day will come in the polling booth when I expect you people, the NNP people, to respond. Because all what they're saying about this government, the government is us. So anything they say is we they're talking about. Any bad thing they say is we. Because we are the government. So if you don't understand that, I want you to get that through your heads right now. We need to do the work. Because we have to, after that day, we have to jam Dorothy. Dorothy must get jammed. However, before we jam Dorothy, there are some things we have to do. We have to get registered. And we have to put things in place. We have to have tabletop and dry runs exercises. So when the day comes, you have to be flawless. No slip-ups. And to do that, we've done it in 13, we've done it in 18, so we know what we have to do. Unity. Unity. Now is not time for petty squabbling. If you have issues, there are people you know you could call and speak to treat with. Now is not time for squabbling and he, she, and them say. And the opposition forces, who is the accusers of the brethren, they go set all kind of things to get you in trap. Be wise, beware. And when you don't understand something, don't run with it. And for those of us on Facebook, and we don't have to forward everything they send us. There are certain things we have to be deliberate and read and understand. And if we don't, call somebody who know. Don't help them forward their agenda. Don't work for them. Don't work for them. You have to work for us. You understand? So we have to, right now, the thing come in a kind of way, we have to understand what is at play. I don't tell you to keep people enemy. I don't tell you to curse people. However, we have to look at ourselves and do what is required. We have to protect what we have. We have to ensure that the future of our children and our children's children is maintained. And we don't want to take chance. They say about change. Change will come, and change has been coming. The only thing constant in our life is change. So, my friends, in closing, I've answered the question the police officers posed to me yesterday to tell them why they should continue. I've spoken to the NNP persons to know what is at stake. I've spoken to what government has done, continue to do, and even in the budget, how it will affect persons. So yes, my friends, thank you for listening. And I do hope that that will be your stop every Sunday morning. The first read with Master Carl, a.k.a. One Stone. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, not thy peace, O God of my salvation, because the mouth of the wicked and of the sinful is open.